Hi again guys, and welcome to another installment of Dirtmasters Unplugged. And this, for those who are maybe new here, is a series where we take a car on Gran Turismo which doesn't necessarily have a rallying version on the game, or even if it does have a rallying version, maybe you want to try something a little bit different, maybe more extreme, less extreme, or just a change up. Now this particular car does of course not have a rally version on the game, the Viper SRT-10, in particular the convertible. This was highlighted to me not that long ago, I think it was sometime last week, that this car could actually go off-road, both on dirt and snow. And I'd forgotten that. In fact, in the case of this car, I'm not sure if I knew that in the first place. I knew that the older Viper could, because we covered that car in this series before. But even if I did know about this one, I'd totally forgotten it. As it happens, this car makes a surprisingly capable rally car, despite not having all-wheel drive, and having one of the biggest engines you can possibly have in a production car. Now, as far as the visuals, of course it's totally down to you. I'm not going for a Pikes Peak style build, I'm just going for what I call a Scrambler build, kind of like the Viper equivalent, if you will, of the Daihatsu Storia X4, where you take a normal version of the vehicle, then lower the weight, don't really increase the power that much, but basically make it lighter, sharper and more focused on the dirt, with the power that it's already got. So if you want to go for like a Pikes Peak style build, then of course you could do that with the wing and the full power and all that, but I can't confirm how good it will be with 1160 odd horsepower going through the rear wheels. So by all means try that if you want to, if you're feeling daring, but this one doesn't go that far. Now, for the visuals, all I've done is painted it yellow, so you don't really need to do that of course. Next up, of course, we'll cover the mechanical side of things, as we always do, and then take it out on the dirt to see what it's capable of. Now, as you can see, of course, this is rounded off to the 550 pp level. Not that that's overly important for rallying, not many people stick to pp levels when it comes to the dirt or snow. It tends to be more about power and weight, but still, of course you can change it as necessary, or if you just want to try something different. Now I've gone for dirt tyres because I'm taking it on the gravel. As far as suspension, I've actually got it on stock ride height technically, or at least the same as stock, but it's actually not. It looks a little bit higher because what I wanted it to have is roughly the same kind of ride height, but with stiffer springs, which has the effect of making it look taller. And that's exactly what we've done. Now, speaking of those springs, we've got those on 750 and 925, as you can see. The dampers and anti-roll I've left on 3, which of course is still higher than stock, because you want a little bit of uptake of bounce, but obviously not too much. You don't want it to be wallowing around. I've got 1 degree of camber, as you can see. That's mainly because it's a rear-wheel drive car, doesn't have the natural advantages of all-wheel drive. Neutral toe, of course, if you want some, go right ahead. We'll come back to the gearbox in just a second. I've gone for the twin plate clutch because you haven't really increased the power by that much. And as far as the diff, I've got the lowest initial torque, the highest acceleration and the lowest braking. But for different people, of course, that'll be different. As far as power, we do have an oil change, and you don't really need one, to be honest. The main reason why I did that is so that this tune could be used by people who have already done an oil change. That's basically the reason why I always do it, because otherwise if someone hasn't done it, they'll have to buy a whole new car. So we do have an oil change, but you don't need to fit one. And then I've actually just reduced the power down a little bit for the sake of the PP level. And as far as the weight, I've done the full weight loss package, but I have added a little bit of ballast, 64 kilos, which I've put all the way to the front. And as you can see, that's right on the border of being a 51-49 to a 50-50 split. So it's a 50-50 split technically, but it's still a little bit heavier at the front. So that's what I've gone for as far as the weight. Of course, for each person it could be different. And as far as the gearbox, I've basically just given it a closer ratio setup, with an auto setting of 180, then individual gears of 3.5, 2.4, 1.8, 1.4, 1.15, and 0.975 with a final drive of 3. And of course you can change that around, especially if you give it more power. If you're running over 1000 horsepower, for instance, you may well want to have different ratios. But that's it for the tune, with a ton of room for variation, of course. So now let's take it out on the dirt to, as I said earlier, see what it can do. Now, as I said in the outset of this video, the Viper isn't exactly a machine which you would assume is going to be good off-road, but the funny thing is, it's surprisingly capable. In fact, it's better, I would say, as a rally car than some of the actual rally cars on the game. Some of the rear-wheel drive ones in particular, like the Nissan 240 RS, which is a fantastic road car, but as a race car, or as a rally car I should say, it's not that great. Even the Stratos, to me personally, isn't that great a rally car because you just can't get the power down. Ironically for this one, you can. It actually gets the power down really well. Surprisingly well for a car with so much power and torque. So, if you do decide to use this car, this build or a variation of it, I hope you have a lot of fun with it, and of course there are plenty more on the channel to check out. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.